Speaking of doing the right thing, the Nationals have come up with a very sensible idea, which is that any kind of major renewable energy project ought to be put against the same environmental approval provisions as a coal-fired power plant or a coal mine is. So currently under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Act, any kind of major development that could impinge upon the natural state of the land is referred to them and they make a decision as to whether it would have an ongoing impact on the environment. Now, in many cases, things get waved through if they don't think there's any particular species or whatever hanging around that may be of consequence. But coal mines, in particular, come under scrutiny under this Act, and the Nationals are saying, well, all of these wind farms and solar farms that keep going up, they're covering mass amounts of land, particularly in rural areas, prime farming land, and there's very little attention being paid to the ongoing environmental effects of all this. We know the wind turbines, it's just chewing up birds at a rate of knots. It's all about the environment, particularly when you decommission these wind turbines. And as we know, we saw Vision recently that they blow them out of the ground with a stick of dynamite and then they just go on and, put them out the back of Queensland somewhere as though we don't know they're there. The environmentalists love to talk about I'm driving around in my electric car, I've got my solar panels, I'm doing the greatest things for the environment. But the footprint of these wind farms is massive. Surely the argument that they may well be more damaging to the environment than a coal mine holds water, and it ought to be assessed by the government in the same manner.
You know what I love about this story is that farmers are now the true environmentalists and the National Party is the true Green Party.
But they always have been. Farmers have always been true environmentalists because they need to make a profit out of the land. No one understands the land better than people who have to turn a profit out of it. And for so long the Greenies have told them, you're raping and pillaging the land, you've got no idea. They've always been ahead of the curve.
And no one has to live with the fallout like the farmers do. So that's why they're the ones up in arms about this land acquisition that the government wants to do for its all new butte grid that'll channel renewables. They're like, sod off.
But I mean, we're going to have to live with it.
Else.
I mean, it'll start with the farmers, but pretty soon, once agricultural land starts getting used up with, solar panels and wind farms, we'll be paying for it at the grocery store because the price of food will go through the roof because of reduced farming land.
Well, food will just cease to exist, won't it? I mean, that's their plan. We're already being told to eat bugs and what have you.
I'm going to go set up a bug farm after this. I think that might be the next vanguard.
Well, I'm sure you'll get government money from Chris Bowen
probably,
for it.
But you get higher power bills, higher food prices. I mean, how much better can it get? The lucky country here in Australia.
Well, I'll tell you what, suddenly the National Party have found their reason to exist and suddenly become incredibly important now for our country.
Oh, 100%.
Because they're at the front line of this whole net zero thing, or at least they should be.
I hope they fight like hell because they are literally fighting for our lives.